there.
How are you?
Yeah,
I'm fine. This is Teacher Shadrach again. I'm here once again doing the part 8 of a series of videos, Demystifying Computer Studies Project, year 2025 KCSE. And so far we have been able to maneuver through many technicalities that are presented in this year's project. And I believe the journey is not too long which remains. We shall still maneuver to the end of it. So yours is just to keep on following up and doing the things that we have said you do. Once we do an illustration here, please make sure you implement it and then think about which other areas would you represent using the same idea that we try to sell to you. Part 7 of our video was about registration fee, how we are going to handle it based on the different criteria. And we avoided so much doing things like coding or using complex expressions to evaluate those registration fees which are varied. Now this video is about another use of queries when you may want to consolidate data. And in this video, I may also want to show you how we concatenate. Concatenations, we had found that term again in another video where we had to repeat the terminology concatenation several times. So I believe you have a clue of what it refers to. Joining of strings. Like now, in my case here, what has caused me to think about that is because I would like us to handle issues to do with activities. Activities, guys, we have created a table which stores activities that every club or any club might intend to handle, and I have actually recorded these activities directly into my table here. And you can see, like in the case of Computer Science Club, we may want to visit Kayole Home for the Aged, and the amount, either we anticipate or the amount that we shall spend at the end of it all is 26,500. Music, school talent showcase, and so on. Now that table, the financiers of these activities are the club members, and therefore we are going to be picking a club ID, an activity ID, and then who is willing to contribute towards the activity. There will be that member. Now you realize why we must require a query for this particular scenario. You look at this table and you find that the fields are not sufficient to describe which activity is this. Based on just a number that we are picking here, might not be very clear about what is this activity, and therefore we may want to have an elaboration or a representation of activity number 10 refers to what. We may want to see that. We may want also, when we pick a membership ID here, we also want to see the name of this member, and therefore it would be important for us to build a query based on this particular table to actually expand the information that we have here, because it appears like somehow it is shallow. So let's go hands-on, guys. Are you ready? Okay, so if you are ready, you always say, I am ready, sir. Very good. Now we shall do a query, and this time I'm going to use Query Wizard. Either can do Query Design or Query Wizard, either can do. It depends on whether you want to take much time or whether you want to take less time. But you still can use the two methods and you still get where we are headed to. So it's a simple one, guys. It's not a complicated one. So in step 1 of Query Wizard, we are choosing simple Query Wizard, and then okay. Then come to this second part of the wizard where we are supposed to choose which tables and which fields are we dealing with. Remember, we are dealing with a select query, which requires us to select tables that we desire to use and also fields that we desire to use. So I'll pick, already I had highlighted the table activity contributions, and therefore I want to pick activity ID. Now, activity ID is a number which does not describe which is this activity. So where do we find the description? So I'm going to be jumpy here as I select fields from one to another. Like now, after activity ID, I want to show which activity, what is the activity name. I can only get the activity name by changing the name of the table to activities TBL, where I now choose activity name. You get that? And then when is the date of this activity? Be together. Do we need to show the club? May not be very necessary, but in case we do need, we can just pick club ID, and then we go back to our activities contributions table. So membership ID again is another area. I have picked membership ID, but you realize membership ID does not tell us who is this person. Who is this person? So for us to get who is this person, we can only answer that if we can get into the table called students. Remember, from memberships TBL, we can first pass through memberships TBL, and then in it, we pick the student ID. But you realize even in memberships TBL, we don't have the name of the student. Names only exist where? In students TBL. So after picking the student ID, which is equal to admission number of a student, we go to students TBL, and there now I'm picking the first name, middle name, last name, and probably the class. Then go back to the mother, or to the table which is leading us to all these things, which is activity contributions. Then I add date of contribution, which is necessary, and then the amount contributed, which is also necessary. So you can see we have blended several fields which come from so many tables, but it is according to the need that we have. That the information that could have come from activities contributions table alone, it could not have been sufficient. It could not have been fully descriptive. But now we want it to be fully descriptive, and that's why we have to take the bother of creating this query. So this query will show details for every record. We are not creating a summary query yet. We shall get there very soon, creating summary queries, and what are the bases of creating a summary query. That one we shall answer sometime later. So next, and then call it what? Activities contributions. The name is suggested, but I normally prefer having no space and then adding a suffix QRY. A suffix QRY. Activity contributions QRY. Then we finish. We first view how is the organization of a query. You realize that it has got so many columns: activity ID, activity name, activity date, club ID, membership ID, student ID, first name, middle name, nakadhalika. So we always say, those who are watching us from abroad, sometimes we do permit ourselves to speak in tongues. Very good. So having done that, now I also mentioned that we would want to concatenate. Instead of having three individual parts of names, three parts of a name, first name, middle name, and last name, we want to just show one name, a full name made of the three names. Is that possible? Yeah. In the process called concatenation, it is possible. So what we do again, we switch to design view, and now this time round, I am going to kind of go to a new column somewhere, a new column and occupied by, not occupied by anything, and then I'm in the field row. And from the menu design, from the design menu, choose builder. Again, this is equivalent to right-clicking the cell we were in and then choose build. So we want to create a concatenated statement which has first name, ampersand, which means and, or connect that to, okay, double quote and space, double quote and ampersand, then middle name, and then we put ampersand, double quote, space, double quote, and then ampersand, okay, and then last name. So again we get the title, expression 1. This is not the first time, so allow me to change it right from here and now call this new column as full name. I call it full name. So I can place it close to the other column. So what do? You just above the row for field, we have a very thin bar there just above, which when you point, the mouse pointer changes to a down pointing arrow, a black down pointing arrow. So it's used to select the whole of that column, the contents therein, and I would like this column to just be in front of first name. Then I view. So of course there's nothing to view so far, or I can just put activity number 1. You can see when we pick an activity, because it was described elsewhere, you notice there are some details which have been filled automatically. Visiting Kayore, home for the aged, the activity date, and it is organized by the computer club. And then who is the member who is contributing? Number 1, student number 1, who happens to be student ID 124 Betty. Notice now the concatenated name, Betty Waturi Jerry, and you notice the name is repeated again, first name, middle name, and last name. We don't want this repetition again. We would want just to show the full name as it is, the full name, and we ignore showing in the query first name, middle name, and last name. Date of contribution carries on. Default value is 15th, the date as per now, and then the amount that they contributed, this guy gave 500 bob. So we shall not be entering data here. This is just for illustration, but I also want to show you how do we remove first name here, middle name here, and last name such that they are not shown. So back to design view, that's where we achieve that. I don't know whether you have ever asked yourself what is the meaning of the row for show row, or row for show. Okay, when you do not want a field to appear in the listing of the records, then what you do is to unshow. You remove, you uncheck the column that you don't want to show, and that plays the trick that we don't want to show that the 3 columns, and that's how we have managed hiding the 3 columns. We don't want to show them during datasheet view. So they are there ideally, they are there, we are using them somewhere, but now in reality they are not appearing when we are in datasheet view. Is that one clear? So I close the query and remember to save it, and very quickly now I just want to create a platform, an interface where the user shall now be entering amounts that we have received from various contributors. So that form will have a scenario of mother form plus a child form. A child form is equal to a sub form. So there is the main form based on the activities table, and then underneath that activity there are the well-wishers who want to contribute towards the activities, that activity. So they will appear in a sub form, which we are also calling a child form. So very quickly we go to create a menu, and then we choose form wizard. We say this is the easiest way of handling such a scenario, and then put all the fields under activities TBL, push all of them, and then now this time round we do not want to use the activity contributions table, but we would want to use a query. So we have activity contributions QRY. I'm looking for query. You know, there is the prefix part which says query, and then the name of the query follows. Activity contributions, guys, don't confuse the table and the query. This time we are using query as the second reference. So since activity ID is already selected in the first table, activity ID, we are going to kind of ignore it. And then we are going to start selecting fields from activity name and then activity date. We go carry on like that, like that, like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. Okay. So then next, and there we are. How do we create the organization? By the mother table. The one which has the primary key of the activity ID is the one which is the mother table, and it's actually the one which is selected. You will be able to notice that when you see the kind of organization having a squared rectangle area within a bigger rectangle. It shows a mother and a child. A mother and a child. We just want to create the thing as it is, and then in tabular layout, and then next, and then what do we call this? We are going to call it activities contributions. Activities contributions, FRM, that's for the mother, and activities contributions subform, that's for the child. That's for the child. Subform. Then finish, so that we see the organization. The organization is not always appealing, so it's now us to do the enhancement. It is you to do the enhancement. Okay, so that's beautiful. That's beautiful. However, just before I switch off, I want also to just remind you how we created a control. You cannot remember all the activities by their ID. Neither is it very advisable to keep scrolling until you get to the activity that you want. You may want to have a drop down list somewhere, a drop down control somewhere, which allows you to pick a desired activity. So what do we do to achieve that? We are going to design view, and then just above my fields here, activity name is taking too much space. I just need to move it up a little bit and then go down, move the others down like that. Then from the design tools, the design control tools for a form, the controls we can place on a form, we said one of them is called a combo box. Combo box can be easily confused with a list box. Don't. Combo box is slightly different in appearance, so choose combo box, guys, and then drop it somewhere inside your mother form. And then remember our three options. We had this in the previous video, and therefore it's just a kind of a reminder. I want the combo box to do what? Find a record on my form based on the values I selected in my combo box. So it is going to search for you what item have you picked from the combo box based on that form. The form has records, and it will go straight to the record that you are trying to reference. So next, and then let's pick two items here. I will pick activity ID and also activity name for description, so that instead of us just seeing a number, we also see the activity name itself. So kind of next, and then I want to widen this column. Widen that column, and there it is, and then carry on, and then activity name is okay as the name, or I can just say select activity name, select activity name. There we are, and we say finish. So kind of reorganization, and then beautifying the form, creating an appealing user interface to the user, which of course I cannot do here. I have already mentioned in the previous videos about how we format forms, how we make them appealing. So I just want us to test the form the way sketchy, as sketchy as it is. I want us to test it. Then thereafter, now you allow me to take my time, format it, and make all the decorations I want. As you also do the same activity at home there, make sure you also do this activity, creating a form with a child form, and the child form is getting its references from a query. So let's test it, guys. And so what is the expectation? Picking an activity, school talent showcase, or let's talk about the visiting of Kayole. And you notice we only have one contributor so far. I just want to believe that I can now go ahead and create what is missing. Let me see. There is something that has missed. There is something that I have missed somewhere, but let's try to see whether it is going to operate as desired. Yeah, it is. So it's only that these columns are too wide. They are making somebody to be confused. It's able to reproduce the item that is displayed in the mother form, which is the thing that I was wondering whether it is going to do that. So I have selected membership number 2, and the amount they contribute now, I indicate they have contributed 250 bob. So again, in the third row here, I can just move and indicate member number 3, member number, or any other member anyway, member number 10 has contributed towards this activity, and I go. So you realize there is a place where I had mentioned about how you can disable some of the unnecessary columns that you may want the user not to interfere with. So remember, to achieve that, you will select those columns that you do not want somebody to touch or to enter anything into, and then in properties sheet data page, you lock them and you disable them. Enabled you set to no, locked you set to yes, and that will do the magic. So the thing that is missing now is to reorganize the form. But as you do your form, remind yourself, how can we do the subtotal for the amount column? Remind yourself, how can we do the subtotal for the amount column? That one we have done already in another video. I don't know whether it was part 2, part 3 thereabout, where we dealt with the subtotal, and that's a similar scenario here. So work out the subtotal, the summation of what have we received so far in this particular vote head we are contributing for. Guys, I wish you the best. Keep working. You'll be rewarded by honest work. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. God bless you. Have a good